Wait, where are you? Are you coming? We have some really good guests today. Just joking. Scott's not late again. I think he's been late one time, but I will never let him forget it. Scott is actually on his President's Club trip. I work for a small business, so we don't have that. But he's on his President's Club trip, so he's not going to be here today. So you are just stuck with me. Thank you. Welcome to Drinks with Leaders. Super excited. We have an awesome couple of guests today. But I want to know who is watching. You guys, it is the end of April, and this is when it gets really exciting because we started asking people, our third question is always, how are your 2025 goals going for you? And usually people are like, I don't know, it just started, but we are finally almost halfway through Q2, which means we're almost halfway through the year, right? We're halfway through the year. And this is when we really get to figure out who's giving it all this year, who is pedal to the metal, and what can we learn from them. So super excited. Welcome. All right. Are you here? Are you watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube? Super excited. It's my favorite thing to talk to myself whenever Scott's not here. But if this is your first time, usually we have Scott Havens. I am Erin Fulk. We just love to bring you a couple different people in the Kansas City business community every single week. You can learn from them, connect with them. This is just a great place to network. We started this month. It was 5 years. 5 years ago, we've had 800 plus guests on. It's been an insane. One day I say I'm going to take it all and do a montage. You can go check the Drinks with Leaders YouTube page and check every episode we've ever had, but there's been some of the most incredible people on here. So make sure you go check that. If you are here, let me know if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. If you are watching the live show right now, or if you are watching the replay, let me know. But super excited. We have two awesome guests, and Scott will be back next week. Look, Paul says he is watching on the screen in Tim Emerson's hair salon, which I'm guessing means he knows one of our guests today. But if you are new here, Paul comes in every single week with a joke. And actually, Paul, Scott is supposed to be sending you an email. I don't know if he has, but we are going to ask you to co-host for me when I am in Miami at a conference in July. So watch out for Paul coming to your screen soon. Laura says, looking forward to today's speakers, watching on LinkedIn. Laura Ann, I'm guessing Laura Ann is how you say that. We are so excited you are here as well. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to bring our speakers in. I just got to meet both of them 5 seconds before the pre-show. So super excited to get to know more about them. So, we've got the worst music in all of live show history. So I'm going to bring in the music. I played this for Scott. I guess when he's not here, I could play better music, but whatever. Yay. Okay, so we have two fabulous guests today. I'm going to bring both in, and we're going to start in. We are not playing the clock today, but they promised to stay around 3 minutes so we can put up their faces. So first things first, we have Tim, the next thing. Okay, let me turn off this terrible music. Hi, guys. How are you?
Terrific. Good.
So excited. All right, let's just jump in. We'll start with you, Tim. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
I am Tim Emerson. I have a company called Emerson and Company. We do payroll, bookkeeping, merchant services. And I got to Kansas City. I went to KU and I grew up in Southeast Kansas on a cattle ranch and went to Lawrence and then moved to KU and started at a company called Dean Witter back in 1989.
Wait, The Pursuit of Happiness. That's where he worked.
Yeah.
That's my favorite movie. You started Dean Witter. Okay, that was nowhere near 3 minutes. Keep going.
Yeah, so we started out primarily doing merchant services. And then we were approached by one of our payroll vendors, and they said, hey, all those clients that you're working with on merchant services, you can talk to them about payroll. We did that, had a great degree of success, and then really found out that different verticals, different companies had different needs. And so we kind of sought out those services. So right sizing the right payroll software for the right company, the right vertical has really been kind of the secret to our success, along with my team. Very fortunate. We've got bilingual employees. We have Trisha Jones-Ships, who just started with us 2 or 3 years ago. She's my chief operating officer. My grandmother said that there's a lid for every pot. And I think what she meant by that is that different strengths and weaknesses can pair together well. And so our whole business has been about advocating for small and medium businesses. My mom, Ann Emerson, was the first female Chamber of Commerce president back in 1991 in a little town called Fort Scott. And so the apple didn't fall far from the tree. We are out there basically helping a lot of small and medium businesses fulfill their dreams and pursue their mission statement. And a lot of times the back office isn't really areas that they want to spend a lot of time in. So we help them with making sure they've got good financials every month, and helping them with their payroll solutions and merchant service solutions.
How long have you been doing your company?
Since June of 2006.
Okay.
So about 19 years.
So here's my big question. 2006 to 225, software looks a lot different than it did when you started, right? So what are some of the lessons you've learned, and what are some of the big pivots you've had to make over the past, almost 20 years?
I would say the biggest one is integrating the different systems. So time and attendance, it's a great question. HR, doing performance reviews with employees. The onboarding process has changed dramatically. So we're looking for helping employers seek those that are in what's called protected classes, or these work opportunity tax credits. So if you hire somebody that's been unemployed for a year, or you hire somebody on food stamps or low income housing, or a disabled veteran, even like second chance programs or Good Samaritan programs where somebody's been incarcerated or convicted of a felony, the employer can get up to a $9,000 tax credit for hiring those type of candidates.
Wow. Has the software been one of the harder things to keep up with in your industry?
Not really. The beauty is that we're not just a reseller of any one particular payroll platform. So we constantly have people reaching out to us and showing their wares, if you will. And then I'm out there networking and sharing with the different CPA firms that we work with that refer business to us and partner or outsource with us. So it's actually been a great experience. Love
it. Well, we're so glad you're here today. Look, Janae is watching on LinkedIn Live, baby. So thank you, Janae. Thanks for being here. All right, Jake, who are you? What do you do? How do you get to Kansas City?
So my name is Jake Ulmer. I am a residential loan officer with Arvest Bank here in Kansas City. Previously, I was with Veterans United, which is a VA lender. So I specialize more so in the VA loans, and that is kind of my niche that I've really been trying to get into here in the community. So I grew up at the Lake of the Ozarks. And every time I say that, people go, "Oh, I didn't know people actually live there full time," which they do. And here I am. So I went to Mizzou. Sorry to tell you that, Tim, but I went to Mizzou, and then I graduated in December of 2019. So as we know, the world stopped 3 months after that, but I had a lease through July of that year. So it kind of threw off my whole plan. And my roommate at the time, we ended up signing another year lease. And my roommate at the time works for Veterans United, and they're headquartered down in Columbia, which is where Mizzou's at, and ended up getting into that job. I really liked it. I turned out to be really good at it. And then shortly after that, I got promoted to come up to Kansas City, which was never on my game plan. I'd always liked Kansas City, but to be truthful, I was more of a St. Louis guy. So I had anticipated, I know. I had anticipated going there, but I have fully converted to being a Kansas City. I'm a huge Chiefs fan. I will say I am a Cardinals fan, even though that's not saying much because they're pretty dang bad. But worked with Veterans United up here for about 4.5 years. And then I actually just recently transitioned over to Arvest Bank here about 2.5 months ago, which was an interesting transition because Veterans United, I worked in all 50 states and largely military communities, like Texas, North Carolina, a bunch of California, and that kind of thing. So transitioning to Arvest Bank, I'm a local lender now. So I've essentially started over from scratch over like the last couple of months, to where I've just been hammering networking really hard. I've also founded a local networking group, has a real emphasis on getting out in the community and giving back. Looking to partner up with a foundation called Ex Volta, who does first responder and VA or veteran mental health, a bunch of different resources for them. So I've been really trying to be hands-on with that and really give back to the community and get a lot of exposure out to not only Arvest as a brand, but myself.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, you are allowed to be a Blues fan. Okay.
I am Blues fan too.
We'll start there. If you grew up with the Lake of the Ozarks, I always find this interesting, right? Why did you think that you liked St. Louis, and what was it about Kansas City that finally won you over?
So I had a lot of family. The majority of my family lives in St. Louis. My parents were from there. So I spent a lot of time up there as a kid. So I'd always, and when I went to Mizzou, pretty much like half of the college is St. Louis and Chicago kids, with some KC kids sprinkled in there. So a lot of my friends lived in St. Louis after college, and I was a little bit late because I had that extra semester. And that was just the game plan. And then it just kind of fell into fruition that I got promoted to Kansas City. I was all about it. I needed to get out of that college town. I was dang near a senior citizen by that point in college terms, being I was like 23, 24. So I got up here. I lived downtown for a couple of years, and it's just a beautiful area. And then spent a lot of time in Lenexa and Overland Park, and really St. Louis just doesn't compare, to be honest with you. It's just so much of a nicer area up here. And, being a big Chiefs fan, I got to experience 2 parades, like just right in my backyard, dang near. And it was, I'll never forget that. It totally sold me on Kansas City for the rest of my life. And this is where I plan on staying.
Although you guys you do have your baseball team downtown, which I think we could learn from. So that's just a political opinion.
Hey, I was all for the stadium downtown myself.
It is pretty fun to go downtown and be able to do that. So
yeah,
awesome. Well, welcome to Kansas City. We're glad you're here. All right, Tim. Let's talk. We are literally April 29th, which is also a great Taylor Swift song if you guys haven't seen that trend online today. But we are right here at the end of April, almost about to be May. So my question to you is, we're going to switch questions up a little bit. How are your 2025 goals going so far? And how can the Kansas City community help you?
The 2025 goals are going great. We are... one of my goals is I'm trying to identify business development partners, strategic partners. Typically, they look like people that sell group health insurance, like benefit brokers. We also work with a lot of investment advisors across the country that are selling retirement programs. If you canvass their clients, they typically are working with some of these big publicly traded payroll companies, and they're worried about an ADP or a Paychex or somebody like that cross-selling and taking their account. So there's not very many of them that are familiar with the Emerson and Company, if you will. And so we're out there just trying to get the word out and share with everybody what we're doing. But yeah, the second thing that we're trying to do is we're really trying to focus on growing our our accounting business. So we do bookkeeping, helping people with QuickBooks Online, stuff like that. So that's a big part of our business. I'd like to grow that team to about 25 employees, in-house bookkeepers, 25 employees. And then the third goal that I'm trying to hit is spend more time with my family. And we just got back from Spain. We went to see my daughter in Madrid. She's studying at Marquette, but she's got a overseas exchange program in Madrid. So we had a wonderful visit with there and had a chance to see her. And of course, I couldn't do that if I wasn't surrounded by a great cast in my office. So I'm very proud of my team and hoping to continue to grow that business.
Marquette in Chicago?
Milwaukee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that's your oldest, correct?
Yes. And I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old.
You really span the whole thing. Was it hard for your first to move away? What did that do to you?
Oh, it was terrible. I don't recommend it.
I'm
I'd rather
asking.
not. I'd rather change the subject. Can we gong it?
I'm asking because mine's moving to New York in the fall, and it's very hard, right? But you do realize how lucky you are that you get to take off time for that. So
It's
awesome.
a very emotional experience. I'll just leave it at that.
Janae says, okay, Jake, I'm going to read this to you. Connect with Tim Deadhode. He works with veterans to help them find jobs based on Nebraska, but still good contact to have in your network. So go make sure you find him afterwards. Janae's commenting on LinkedIn, so you can connect with her there. So how are your 2025 goals going, and how can the Kansas City community help you?
I would say goal-wise, we're doing pretty dang good. I began, so I kind of started right in the middle of Q1, and Q2 is really where you make your money in the mortgage industry. If you can't have a successful year if you don't have a good Q2, and I started from scratch. So the first couple of months, I've really just been hammering out networking events, trying to get exposure to Arvest and myself and the community. And then, so overall, my main goal is to just generate and build as many strategic relationships as possible, whether that be with realtors, financial advisors, insurance agents, anybody who we can form a two-way beneficial relationship with. That's really what I'm after more than anything, because then, if I'm able to build these referral partners up and we can form this two-way relationship, that's going to be benefiting both sides, that we both, are happy at the end of the day. So that's my biggest thing before really being able to put a dollar amount on the amount of closings I do or anything like that is I want to, you don't go out looking for loans. You go out looking for relationships, and the business will come with that. And then aside from that, with my networking group, we're really hammering out on the community side. We're looking to do a lot of volunteering events. I'm sponsoring kind of with Exculta, which I mentioned earlier. I'm sponsoring a cornhole fundraiser for them on May 17th. So my goal for that is we would just want to get as many people out there as possible to help, promote their brand, and because I really love what they're doing with the mental health and the physical well-being of veterans and first responders, because what they do is tough, and the sacrifice that they've made is something that we should try our best to repay, even if we really can't. So really my main goal, aside from building the referral partners, is really getting out to the community, having my networking group getting out into the community, and really finding as many volunteer options and possibilities that we can.
I love that. Okay, Tim, over all these years, and I think this is always our biggest learning question on here. This is usually Scott's question to ask, so that I left it to last today. But I always learn the most during this question, so I want you to think about that. No pressure while you answer this. But what has been your most pivotal point in your career over the years?
I think the marriage to my wife, Darcy. I also feel like hiring Tricia has been tremendous, my chief operating officer, and letting go of the reins a little bit and focusing on her strengths. We have actually had several pivotal points. One was the Affordable Care Act. Payroll started tracking full-time equivalents, that type of thing. That was a fairly significant point, and I know it was disruptive in the industry. A lot of business moved from one vendor to another. And then probably one of the toughest ones, or the biggest ones, was during COVID. Even though we're primarily a payroll company and accounting firm, it was a very challenging time. We had business owners that were, have big personalities, very strong people, used to success, being thrown a huge curveball. And we were fortunate enough to get in front of that. We were hosting Zoom calls and sharing with people about the CARES Act, PPP, the EIDL, all the different programs that were coming out during COVID. And it was probably the biggest challenge, but it was actually one of my teammates that came to me and said, "Hey, we're getting a lot of questions about this. What resource could we put out there?" And I was still learning how to use Zoom calls and Microsoft Teams and all that type of stuff. But we had a lady that was following it very closely. And fortunately, we saw the audience grow on that dramatically. And there was a lot of frustration. People are saying, "Hey, wait, last week you told us this," but it was changing. And you want to talk about turning a lemon into lemonade. That was a big pivotal moment for us. And merchant services was going down because some businesses that were unessential were not processing transactions. But the silver lining, honestly, was helping be there and supporting these business owners and navigating all the CARES Act during COVID.
Did you get more clients as you were mentioning that you knew how to help with PPP?
We did. I was really surprised. I mean, at first it was really just clients only that were on those calls. And then I started to recognize that people were sharing those links, and we were having numbers that were way in excess of what our client base was. And so I was really grateful for that resource, and that we had somebody that was able to be in front of that and help people navigate during that difficult time.
Yeah. What a wild time that was. Can you guys believe that was 5 years ago? Feels so weird, right?
Time flies, that's for sure.
All right, Jake, what has been the most pivotal point in your career so far?
So I would say there's two major ones. First off, accepting the promotion to move up to Kansas City, a place I had really never spent any time, never really been. Kind of just took a leap of faith with my company to move up here, and goodness, I'm glad I did. You know, I love living up here. I'm currently living out in Lee Summit, and it's probably my favorite place I've ever lived in my life. Like it's awesome. So second to that, it would be certainly that transition from Veterans United to Arvest. As I worked, especially in VA loans, and now I offer everything, from all civilian loans. And if I can't personally do, something like a HELOC or a personal loan or anything like that, well, there's somebody here who can. So being able to offer that type of variety and do everything possible in the banking realm for my clients is been the biggest jump. And that was also a leap of faith because I had to start completely over because I had all these relationships built in these different countries, these different cities and states that I really couldn't bring with me because we're a local lender. So I really had to start from scratch. And it was a pivotal moment for me because it was a tough decision. But, after, thinking it over really hard and talking with my main supervisor here, I loved what Arvest does for the community. I love everything about this place. And I'm kind of kicking myself I didn't do it sooner, but hey, better, now than never, right?
Awesome. Okay, so I have another question for you guys. We have a lot of people that watch this show, whether it be live or in the replay. What is the best way to get a hold of you? You go first, Tim.
The best way to get a hold of us is just give us a call, 816-360-9092. We also, our website is Emerson, EMERSON-CO.com. Or we have LinkedIn and Facebook profiles. So be happy to connect with you.
Awesome. Okay, what about you, Jake?
Yeah, same here. I'm plastered all over, Facebook and LinkedIn, Instagram. I've been making TikToks, which is super out of my comfort zone. But hey, you got to do what you got to do to get the name out there. I'm not a TikToker. I've really never been a big social media guy, but I've been really active on there lately. And I've had some of my friends tell them I'm kind of annoying them a little bit. But hey, they know I do mortgages now. That's for sure. Well, now I've always done them. But you can reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. My cell phone is 573-480-1135. That 573 is that Lake area code right there. Email, we have all sorts of different ways to get in touch with me. So, I'm happy to, respond to an email, call, text, anything. I'm always available. Weekends, nights, my birthday, your birthday, it doesn't matter.
Here's a fun fact. So obviously I'm in social media. So this is a free marketing fact for everyone. I've been playing with YouTube shorts. Go play with those, Jake. They're actually getting more reach than TikTok right now.
Really? Well, It's funny you say that because I've been meeting with, I have a realtor that I'm good friends with, and she's like real big on TikTok and social media, and she's really funny. So we've been talking about getting together and like making some co-branded and joint content. And she said the same exact thing. She was like, we need to start a YouTube and we need to make shorts.
YouTube shorts are killing it right this second. So that's another good space to look at.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So make sure you connect with both Tim and with Jake. I want to thank you guys so much for coming on. Scott will be back next week. I want to thank Bestway International and Evardy Construction. We didn't have a chance to talk about them yet, but they are the absolute best sponsors in the entire world. So make sure you go connect with them as well. So thank you to Bestway International and Evardy for allowing us to put this show on every single week. Thank you guys for coming on, and you can connect with these guys right here. We will see you same time, same place next week. Bye, guys.